I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We're live in 3, 2, 1.
I don't know that we want to get this one started, guys, because it's already been rough.
Honestly wish we'd recorded the last 15 minutes for everybody. It's been a free-for-all.
It has.
You got a guest that means a lot to us. It's a good friend. And the first thing he blurts out is, "Go Buckeyes." Oh, come on, man. That had to start it right there.
And he looks like Ryan Day.
He actually does.
Oh, he does. I forgot we talked about that last time.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He might be a little heavier.
I'm sure. I bet he's tired. I bet he's tired of hearing about that.
Yeah. Man, every time they're on TV, I get 3-4 texts from people. A lot of people from the South, like, "Oh my God, you favor Ryan Day?
Are you there?"
And I'm like, "Man, he's a handsome son of a gun."
Yeah, but he can't.
Not everybody can be that good looking.
Yeah, but as our buddy Bob would say, but he can't yelp.
Yep.
Not like our buddy.
No, so let's set the table. So welcome, West Point, Mississippi, everybody. This is a Friday, the day before the turkey tailgate. So we have a lot of guests coming through to talk turkey with us. So we're gonna, we look up and here's Josh Grossenbacher, and he was here last year.
Of course,
we had such a fun time with him, and
also
leave the door unlocked, and here he is again.
He's my drug dealer. He drops off my little baggie when he comes through too, so that's important.
Very special those stuff. Personal little calls.
I saw him making an exchange earlier. It was pretty funny.
In the foyer. Yeah, he comes out and leaves the rolled up paper on the front couch out there, and then walks off to someone to come pick it up.
Josh, I'm always scared I'm gonna mispronounce your last name. What a last name that is.
Yep, German.
We talked about this last time.
We did. We sure did. But I still, when I look at it, I'm thinking,
there's a lot to work with there. He's got to pick people apart,
So sitting next to Josh is a young man, a rising star in the turkey call world.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I'd say that.
Hunter Wallis.
I'd say a risen star.
He has been risen indeed.
I think he's been risen for a while.
Well, yeah, and
he's younger, yes.
Now you don't spell your last name like Lanny does.
No, I'm IS. He's IS. I don't know if that's better or worse, but
I don't know.
It's out there.
It's probably all the same.
It probably is. Probably exactly.
So guys, we've got some Yankees in the building.
Yeah, we do
for sure. You're from Pennsylvania. Josh is from Ohio.
PA. Bobby.
Well, no, we're not against
the prejudiced,
Bobby. It's just a little different.
Stereotypical. Yeah,
Josh,
he's from Montgomery, and he thinks we're Yankees in North Mississippi.
This is true.
He does.
Well, guys, I'm excited to have y'all here. Number one, we always enjoy talking with you, Josh. We're looking forward to meeting you and learning about you, Hunter.
Awesome.
But we're going to talk about running a mouth call.
Oh yeah.
And Josh is so good at explaining things.
Well, you would look back and say, why do you keep having people on? Why do you have him on again? I'm not going to compete in a contest or all that, but I think everybody out there turkey hunting, more than any single thing, would want to get better at their mouth calls, and to relate what all he can bring to the table to the average guy, to the guy just beginning and all, is very important to me. That hopefully we can get to some of that for him.
Are you up to it, Josh?
Absolutely. You had texted me the other day, is there something else maybe we could cover besides mouth calls? And we were talking about it. It's like, man, I sit in my shop year round and build these things and run them and think about hunting. I don't really know what else to talk about.
You got the right guy here then. That's right.
Yeah. But we appreciate you having us here and excited for tomorrow and youth season's kicking off. We're going to be hunting with a youth this weekend, and it's just a great time of year.
It's a good time to have
it.
It's
a good
time to have
really
youth in your pocket.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
You can feel it. You can just hear the birds singing at a different level already outside.
Just outside a minute ago when they were doing it.
Yeah, we noticed that we drove down to Tennessee and stayed at Spence's last night, and first thing when we got out of the truck, he's like, all the songbirds are sounding off, and he's like, "Oh, spring's coming, man."
Whole different feel than up north right now. So
I think turkey hunters tune into it even a little more than most. I wouldn't say everybody, because that's what we look forward to.
Oh, yeah.
you know, we kind of become a part of that whole awakening.
Well, the revival.
Yeah,
of the whole
we all
world,
have
man.
our
It's
we all have
exciting.
our signs. And
I can assure you, for everybody out there, there was some cackling going on right before they said we're going record this. I mean, everybody's really stirred up and happy. And the turkey tailgate thing's pretty cool. All the credit goes to the retail and marketing team for coming up with that. But it's like a celebration of the call makers on top of a promotion for a store we have here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Well, before we get started, Lanny, have you got a current event?
I do not have a current event today.
Lanny, well, that's a demerit.
Yeah, that's a demerit.
And we got one over here.
Well, you've been cracking that whip about one a
I
day
hadn't
this
had
week.
time to
Yeah,
do
Bobby,
anything.
we rarely have time for anything.
Mac, would you
I haven't
mark
eaten
that
all
down?
week, Bobby.
Lanny,
Appreciate the heads up this morning. You could have
Yeah.
told me to get one.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
look, we're gonna let Dudley do some rapid fires at you guys real quick to kind of get to know you a little bit,
loosen them up.
and then we want Josh, like you, take a minute and introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are,
Yes, sir.
what all you've won. You know, just any negatives in your life we need to know about, and then we'll do the same. We'll do the same for Hunter. So, and then we'll get started with the questions. So, Dudley, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Okay. All right. So, are we doing? You want to just do Josh, or should we do the alternate?
Yeah, do the alternate. Yeah.
All right.
Or can't they both answer?
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. We'll just do the both answer.
Yeah.
All right. So,
One and then the other. Okay.
all right. The last two are kind of pointed towards Josh.
But you can answer them anyways.
All right. We got it. Okay. Josh first, Hunter second. Y'all ready?
Ready.
Are you ready?
Yep.
When hunting public, would you prefer to go deep in the middle woods or hunt around the edges near private?
I'm gonna go wherever I hear one gobbling.
There you go.
That's usually by the private, so probably on the. I'm going to pick the edges. So.
Mouth calling. Pick a side, left, center, or right. Forced to use one side.
Right.
Center all the time.
Pick a day to hunt. Cool, overcast, and windy, or really hot, muggy, and calm.
I know that one.
Ah, man, I'd probably say the hot, muggy, and calm. Honestly, I think you're going to be different on that one.
Yeah. It seems I've had so many days where it's cool and overcast. I do not like wind, but cool overcast.
Okay, there you go. All right, no mouth yelpers allowed. What are you pulling out of your vest?
Ooh.
Ooh,
Glass
that's a tough
call.
one. Yeah, probably glass call.
All right, if you had to sound like one hen, would you be an old hen or a young hen?
Old.
I'll just go young to be opposite.
Forced to only make gobbler sounds. Are you going to be Jake yelping or gobbler yelping? What are you doing?
It's pretty hard to separate them, in my opinion. So I'm just going to be trying to sound like
a
any type
male.
of gobbler I could sound like, I guess.
Okay. Are you more of an early spring guy or a late spring guy?
All of it, but I like hunting late better.
Yeah, I gotta agree. You're just
All right.
locked in
Favorite month outside of turkey season?
Mm.
Doesn't have to be turkey related. Just what's your favorite month?
November.
late. Yeah, I gotta agree. I gotta agree with that one.
Deer season, huh?
Right.
Do you try to get amongst them in the pitch black dark, or are you usually going to wait around and see what's going on before you make a move?
I think I'd rather wait around if I can, but I guess it depends on the situation.
Yeah.
All right. Choose two solid off-the-shelf calls you'd normally recommend to somebody who's clueless.
Oh, a Hunter Wallis signature series.
Boom.
That's the
And
one.
the
to go
other
with.
one.
The second Hunter Wallis signature series.
Can I
Yeah.
ask for an amendment? Besides mouth calls, not a brand of call, but what type of other call for a beginner?
For a beginner?
Yeah.
A push button and any type of glass or slate call.
Yeah, I'd probably have to say a box call, man. It's just foolproof, and it sounds. Some of them sound as good as anything else out there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And last one's Waverly Buffet. If given the opportunity to eat the Waverly Buffet again, knowing the results from last year, would you?
Oh my God, absolutely.
Okay.
Just never again before a podcast.
And last question, Pepsid, Pepto, or Alka-Seltzer?
Alka-Seltzer.
All right, to the rescue.
Those are good. Good
Yeah,
job,
so
Doug.
just for the record, I wake up every Friday just dreaming about the fried chicken out there.
Yeah,
so.
and the turnip green's pretty good
Uh,
too.
so
Yeah, so Josh just kind of fell into that last year and kind of forgot that he had to do a podcast afterwards. And gorged himself.
It's easy to.
Dude, man, like there's so much good stuff. Like we don't have fried chicken like this at home.
No,
right?
Nobody does.
No, nobody does.
It's the best I've ever eaten.
Man, I heard about this the whole ride down, by the way.
Like
The whole ride.
he had to stop a couple times mid podcast and like take
I
a
was
breath.
belching. I was sweating. Like I was so full. Like yeah. So we got some cottages over at Waverly.
Mm-hmm.
So like if we were to go to get that, like I would go straight to the cottage to get a nap.
There you go. That's the proper way to do it.
Yes,
That's
correct.
exactly right.
Well, we're gonna do it before then, so
Anyway, that was a fun experience.
that's gonna make us have a hard stop here in a little while for sure.
Why do you think that Ohio and Pennsylvania both? There are a lot of good callers come out of those states.
Yeah. There.
There's a high population of hunters. I go back to
Lots of hunters.
the early days of this, and I was trying to learn, and I thought, the South was the center of the universe, And then I found out Pennsylvania had more licensed hunters than Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia combined. At least at
That's
the time.
crazy.
So the density of people up there too. And if now that we've learned a little bit more about the origins of the species, I know it. I'm proud of it. Came from somewhere I grew up, but Pennsylvania had them a lot earlier than a lot of the other states, and Ohio right there. So I think there was a history going on early on that probably bred it.
And lots of hunters, too.
Because from the first
40
40 years ago, our first days, and obviously wasn't nearly as big, but there was a huge amount, or percentage-wise, of the callers coming from up there, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio.
Yeah.
So, like around here, were there pockets that has had turkeys forever around there? Is that why there's so much of a turkey hunting heritage around PA and Eastern Ohio?
Man, for PA anyway, it was definitely spotty from, just stuff I've heard from my dad and even my grandpa back in the day. It was, seeing a turkey was a big deal. And, I can remember the stories of they'd see him down our camp, and it was like, he told everybody in town. I don't know if it's just such a high population of hunters, and, the winters are so long and boring, especially back when, everybody that I know, especially the older guys, they talk about like the first couple seasons and learning it. And I don't know if it was just so deep rooted that everybody from the North had no idea what they were doing at, when it first came in, and they all kind of learned together, and it just kind of struck that interest in everybody. But it's kind of cool how I have noticed everybody that started, my dad, a bunch of his buddies, they always talk about their first couple of years, and it seems like that kind of really planted the seed.
And fall hunting was
Yeah,
way more
fall hunting's a
popular
big
than
deal.
the spring spring season.
Yep.
Interesting.
Well, why don't we stop right here? Hunter, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Oh man, there's not much to say other than just a turkey hunting fanatic. I mean, I've been calling turkeys and calling in contests for as long as I can remember. I guess my first contest, I was, 5 or 6 years old. I remember I called with a box call and didn't do any good, and kind of took a break from it. And then I picked up a mouth call and started doing pretty well in that, and won a little local fair contest. And man, from then on out, it just kind of stuck with me, and started going to some bigger contests, and obviously hunting as much as I can, and just kind of got obsessed with it.
You're a pretty young guy, though.
I'm 27 now, so yeah. I mean, I've been doing the contest thing, and obviously, man, hunting as long as I can remember. But yeah, it's just stuck with me, and it's all I think about.
Long as he can remember, he's 27 years old. You don't have to remember back that far.
No,
it's
not that
Toxic
far,
does.
I resemble that.
So, Josh, are you out on work release? How did you get out of the state?
Man, between Nashville and coming down here for the weekend, like I needed a break, like from building calls. Like it has just been nonstop, and like I'm totally burned out on it right now. I'm ready to yelp at turkeys and talk turkey hunting with people instead of being confined to a small room with a air compressor blowing all day long. Like I am fried right now building turkey calls.
You ever make one and do you test these things out, or has it got your DNA on them when we buy a package? No.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, just my hands, but yeah, no, I don't.
You don't recycle.
So you're telling us
Bobby does.
Yeah.
So
Don't take a handout.
Yelper from Bobby. Yeah.
When did you first call in the contest? He was telling about his, but that really wasn't that terribly long ago for you, was it?
For
Yeah.
me, I mean, no, I'm not.
Give us context, like 15 years ago, maybe? Or?
Yeah, I mean, that was, like I said, I think I was 6 or something.
But like when you first, like, mouth call Serious competing.
I think the first time I called in the Grand Nationals anyway, I was 12 probably.
So that was
wow.
So
15 years.
15
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
What about for
yeah.
you? Point I was going to make it.
2002, I would have been 23.
Okay.
So
here's the thing. And look at what's going on today. Go in there and what just happened up there and listen to it. And if there's ever like the old saying about, people use it in business or other things like competition just make you better.
It drives business.
Oh
That's
my
right.
gosh, the level of the calling and the perfection of it musically, honestly, is incredible. And the competition of so many good callers has just pushed it to another level.
Yeah.
Can you believe the difference? And I mean, there was always a lot of talent even 40 years ago, but what's going on today is incredible.
it's constantly evolving. It's like, I don't know, 15 years ago, Matt Van Sice come out with a really strong Yelp, and it was kind of on top for a while, and then something else happened, and somebody else took over with a new sound, and then like seeing it now evolving into a lot of like really, really pretty, like unbelievable soft talk.
Yes, correct.
That's like, I mean, from when I started, and I mean, the turkey calling contest has been going on for a long time, but like from when I started 20 some years ago to now, the amount of evolution and like just
sounded like a flock of turkeys, or like you could close your eyes and be right there
like
in
back
the woods.
like back then, I didn't think like, man, the calling can't get any better, and it just keeps getting
It's so
better.
crazy.
It's unbelievable.
You just get on YouTube and listen to like, even 2012 Grand National, 2014, and man, it just seems like every year the competition's that much better. It is insane. Really.
Chuck, yeah, and some of these, I can speak to Dave because we know him so well, but a lot of he was so excited and he's worked so hard at it, but he went in this year. But his thing is he spent so much time in the woods with turkeys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not just like doing the things to give you an edge in the competition type stuff. I mean, they all know that, but that's what you were alluding to. It's like people that have spent so much time with turkeys that they're imitating all these little things they do besides just the kiki run, the assembly yelp, the fly down cackle, ba 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 ba,
The overall rhythms and cadences. I mean, any turkey hunter, like when you're in the woods and a hen's yelping, like it's instantly like when you're conversing with her, like it's so easy to pick up those rhythms and cadences, like even compared to just like listening to the computer or your phone or whatever. But like when you're in the woods having that conversation, man, it's like you really, really zone in on that.
I think nowadays too, you see guys doing a lot of stuff that they were probably scared to do in a contest maybe 15 years ago just because they didn't know if it would score or
well,
not.
yeah, because it would be like you're almost like you're graded on mistakes instead of excellence.
Yeah.
Of course, because honestly, I've judged. It's been a long time, but it's like, oh my God, these guys are so good, and that's like 20 years of going back. What do you find to score? It's like, so you listen for a mistake and you grade them off for that,
Yeah.
But nobody makes mistakes much anymore. It's just who can bring it to life more than anybody now.
Yeah, I don't have the ear most turkey hunters have, especially these guys that are just obsessed with it. But one thing I've seemed to have noticed, respectfully, it was almost more like a show-off longer time ago competition.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, let me see how close I can get to sounding exactly like the real thing in a real situation.
Who is spitting feathers?
Yeah.
Josh, what part of Ohio are you from?
Northeast Ohio, little south of Cleveland, west of Akron.
Not far from somebody there.
Yeah. Do you still call in contests in the state around the local contests and that sort of stuff?
Yeah. Like our state contest, not as many as I used to. Like I just don't have the time.
It's like, careful what you ask for, you'll get it.
Yeah.
Everybody wants his calls.
When they see you coming, there's everybody like, ugh, no point in me calling.
No, not anymore.
The legend that you've got, though, is, I mean, you sound so much like a turkey. It's incredible.
I appreciate that, but I mean, I've been fortunate to win some stuff, but I mean, I don't know if people get nervous when I show up. I don't see that.
What's the pinnacle? What would you say the pinnacle of your career has been?
The 2015 World Championship, and I won a head-to-head at the Grand Nationals, and 2 runner-ups in the senior division at the Grand Nationals. Those were probably my highlights. I mean, the Grand National, there's no getting any higher than that. That's the most prestigious one.
What's the break on the senior division, the junior? So is there a old man division?
No. The senior division, it's 21 and above, right. And then there's an intermediate that is 16 to 20.
16 to 20.
And then the juniors is 10 to 15, and then 10 and under is Polts.
Were you thinking about getting in, Bobby?
Well, I was wondering if there was like a 60 and over.
Yeah.
Bobby'd be the guy that showed up for Little League with the doctored up, birth certificate and all.
If there was a 60 and above, Stevie Stoltz would be competing by himself.
Yeah. He can yelp too.
Yeah. So if you've got dentures, would that affect the way you can put a mouth call in?
Great question.
What about no hair? That's one Bobby's worried about. Does that give you points?
I've always wondered about the dentures thing, but I don't know anybody with dentures that runs a mouth call to get a honest answer. I mean,
it would have to, though, I would think.
Like maybe somebody in the comments with dentures that runs a mouth call could help us out.
There you go,
Ben.
All right, Lanny, I'm going to look at you on the first question.
Yeah, I'm going to ask about calling, believe it or not. So, I mean, we kind of mentioned it's like the soft side of it. The first thing you learn is yelping hard and trying to cut and all those other kind of things. But I know Bobby has been trying, and I have too, been working, and we call it a bubble cluck, Is there any kind of tips or pointers you could give Bobby? Because he needs a lot of work on what he's been doing around the office.
I think we covered this last year too, but those soft clucks, I mean, I think like a nice 2-reed call, like a ghost cut, I can produce those soft clucks with good, or I like those setback batwing calls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not as thick as latex.
I think you gotta kind of change up your strategy when you're blowing it too. Instead, just a regular cluck's more of just a straight sound. For me, I almost like I'm gonna make a whistling type noise with my lips and kind of tighten my lips up and just, that's why they call it a bubble cluck. It pops kind of. So you just kind of whistle it and, just blow some light air out of it, and it seems to
more in the lips than anything.
Yeah. I think like kind of tightening everything up, and then, you make that kind of whistle sound, and it just,
when it sounds right, it sounds like a drop of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
It really does.
Yeah.
I love to hear somebody that can do that, though. It's a really henny sound.
It is a henny sound, no doubt about it.
Yeah. So, Hunter, recently you competed in the Grand Nationals. And how did that go?
Oh, man, it was good. It's the highest I've ever finished in the senior anyway. I mean, I was lucky to win the youths a couple times and the team, but I ended up 3rd this year. So, that was really cool, man. I was excited to be up there.
I'm telling you, that's some heat to get even in the top 12, really.
Yeah.
How does that feel? You're standing at the stage and they call out your name. That's got to be really exciting.
And it's kind of a surreal feeling, honestly. And, I've made the finals the last few years and have not made the top 5. And first year making the top 5, it was definitely pretty exciting. I was pumped up about it.
I predict your day's coming.
And by the way, you can go to YouTube and watch it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Yep.
I watched that not long after I got back from Nashville, and I was really impressed with how good the audio was, because usually it's not that good on there, and it was pretty good.
Put on some headphones if you can make it connect to your phone to listen to it closely. It's incredible.
So, as contest callers, are there things that y'all do with your mouth calls? I'd love to pull out some secrets. And I mean, there's probably things that you don't want to say that you do, but how are you taking care of these calls? Or is one call lasting you several years? You're looking at each other like, but we want to learn about this stuff.
Okay, I'm gonna tell on him. I know how he takes care of his stuff.
Most of my calls are, the day before Grand Nationals, pulled out of my little hunting pouch from the year before. Most of them are, but I don't take care. That's
we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, that's what Dave said. The same thing. We asked him about that. This is back before he actually won, but obviously he's been great for a long time. He said, I've never competed in the Grand National or the big contest with a call that I didn't hunt with the entire year before, at least. That's how broken in they have to be. So, Now you're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Pretty much. You go back to what you hunted with for your best call.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when I start practicing that year, I might not use that particular call, and it seems like every year too, I'm like, if I get a really good call that is a brand new one, I'm like, man, I'm gonna put this one in the fridge. I'm not touching it until next year. Well, March 15th or whenever I start in Florida, it's in my pouch until the next year. So that's just how it works for me.
It's always blown me away that he can just run one and hunt with it every day for months in the spring, and then then a little bit in the fall.
Yeah.
And then he'll compete with it the next year at the Grand Nationals, and like
it's still in mint condition.
It's still in good condition. Yeah.
How he's getting the longevity out of him just blows my mind.
That blows my mind too.
Yeah.
So tell us what you do, because that's
Oh man, I don't have any. They stay in a leather pouch that Terrence Williamson gave me probably 6 years ago. That's my call lanyard, and they just sit there, man. There's no rhyme or reason. No, I just get lucky. I think.
Do you wash them off at the end of the year?
I never do.
Wow.
Do. No, I do always try to make sure that they dry. That is definitely, and a lot of guys don't realize that, man. Right. You get some beginners, they leave them in like a Ziploc bag or something, and they stay soaking wet the whole time. They're never going to run for you. But as long as they dry out, man, they should be fine. And
so that little plastic case that a lot of them come in, the little clear plastic case, you would not store one in that. Then.
They'll dry out in there over time, but I don't think it's the best thing. Like after a day of hunting, I'll just honestly, even that pouch that I have, I'll just open it up so the air gets in there to make sure just make sure that they dry, and then the next day just throw them in, wet them up, and get them ready before.
So were you like in the darkness and before you leave the truck, are you pulling your reeds apart, making sure?
Sometimes.
I worry I'm gonna tear a reed.
Yeah, that's where I'm with you on that. Like that's why I will pick my calls when my hunting calls.
It's so hard, man. It's so hard. I've tried and tried and I try, and then you get in a hurry and you get to hunting season. I don't pick them. So honestly, I've pulled them apart and I've torn them. It's so hard to find one you really, really like, and I tear them up and stuff. So I've gotten to where I've unless I'm with somebody else, if I'm by myself, I just put them in and start yipping on them. And within just a minute or two, if you use it the day before, it doesn't take but a minute to loosen it back up again. And then I hadn't.
But something that's got like a cut in it, you could easily tear it if you.
100%. Yeah,
I've done it before.
That's what I do. Like to pick my hunting calls just so in the morning. You just pop them in there and just get a little bit of spit in between them, and boom, those toothpicks are out and it's freed up and ready to roll. But like you said, Toxie,
it's a pain in the butt.
It is.
It is. Yeah. But that's the best way. They're just never going to run if you leave them, soaking wet.
Well, mainly if you just pick the top reed, then that'll make enough difference to get started in the morning.
Yeah.
You ever gotten ready to go up on the stage to call, and all of a sudden,
I
can't find your call?
Who was it? There was somebody maybe 5 or 6 years ago that was up there. A lot of guys you'll see will switch calls on a fly down.
Right.
I don't remember who it was, but
Wade.
Wade Watson. He was going into his fly down. He was doing all his tree talk and stuff, and then he went to switch to his fly down call, and he dropped his call, and it went right down in between the stage, right down in, and it was gone. That was right in the middle of his routine. Yeah. So that was. I don't remember how he recovered from it, but I remember seeing it, and it was wild.
I've got a great one on the J.R. Lanham, one of our buddies, and he's a caller for us at Rolling Thunder. He finished in the top 5 this year at the Grand Nationals. Super turkey hunter caller. But years ago at the Grand Nationals, he always carries his calls in like old tobacco cans,
Mm-hmm.
And he's got like 3 or 4 of them, and he got a million holes poked in the top to let the air get to him and stuff. And
the like Skoal, Copenhagen,
dip cans. The one year though, he made the finals, and before the finals started, he couldn't find his number ones, his good can. And he had backups, and he used those, and he didn't place, and he felt like he probably would have had he had his better calls. But he said they're riding home, and his wife had one of their kids in a stroller, and they're driving home. And he's like, man, I can't believe I lost them dang calls. That just blows my mind. And his kid said, well, you silly goose, I had him in my stroller the whole time. And he's like, you got to be kidding me.
Oh my gosh.
But I've been to contests where like 10 minutes before the finals were about to start, and like, oh my God, where are they? And forget that they're in my shirt pocket. It's like a total anxiety attack, man.
Yeah, I can't imagine the pressure that you guys must have when they call out your number and you got to walk up there.
It's I don't know, man. Sometimes you're nerved up, and other times, for whatever reason, you're just not. Last year, for some reason, the Grand Nationals, I felt like I was way more nerved up. This year, I don't know. You kind of got to just give yourself the mentality of, the heck with it. You got to get up there and just lay it all out, and that's kind of what it is. So
do you think?
I wouldn't be up here if I wasn't really, really good at this. You just
well, I think preparation and confidence plays a huge part.
No doubt about it.
The whole mental side of it.
So are you, like, before those calling contests, are you yelping an hour a day, or 2 hours a day, or you just give it a little 10-minute warm up, get out there and throw it down?
Man, it depends. I mean, most of my practicing is usually like right before the contest, but I always try to. I always have in my truck, and at least try to run them in my truck and stuff. And I should really practice a lot more than I do. But it's definitely, if you could run them for an hour a day, leading up to the contest, maybe a month before, 2 months before, that would that's ideal, obviously.
What about you, Josh?
I'm constantly, like, when I'm building, constantly running calls, and usually got the TV going, listening to a lot of hunts and YouTube and old contests and stuff. But as far as but that's not, it's like a different style of practice, and that's not like really like being in practice mode. That's just more making noise. But I guess building that muscle memory. But
it's, believe it or not, it's really hard to sit there. Like, it's easy to just throw the call in, fumble around, do some yelping, some cutting, whatever. It's really hard to actually sit there and make yourself like go through an actual routine.
Yeah, routine.
You know what I mean? And that's probably the best way to do it, really, is to just sit there and, like, when I do it, I'll just put my phone on voice record so that I kind of force myself to go through it. But it's hard to force yourself to do that, really. At least it's hard for me.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And your routines, are they written down, or are they just in your head?
No, man, you just kind of
go with it.
Just kind of go with it. Yeah, think them up as you go.
It is wild how they seem to just finish right when there's like 1 second left.
Yeah.
They just walk off the stage.
Go ahead.
That causes a lot of anxiety too, standing up there calling and looking at that clock and knowing like you're racing against that thing too. And I mean, it can mess up your rhythms and just
it'll fumble you.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. The clock makes it super difficult.
Yeah. So I've never done that, but I mean, I get anxiety and nervous like right before I'm about to make that first call, or earlier in the season when you get started. You hit that. I mean, it just never seems to come out. Yeah. It's just like practicing at the range before you play golf. It's like, man, I'm doing great with this 8-iron, and then you actually go out on the regular course and just duff it every time.
Start thinking.
Yep.
So, Hunter, are you using the same mouth call to do all those calls in a routine, or are you switching it out?
I try to, yeah. I mean, some years I'll use one or two different ones, but I usually, luckily, for me, I'm lucky that the only call I blow pretty much is a bat wing cut, and that's just what I've settled in with, man. Ever since I was 10 years old, I've just loved a bat wing, and I could usually do everything. Like this year, I think in the finals, I use one call for all the yelping and cutting and all that stuff, and then I think I switched one for a key just to a different call. But it's really nice and convenient when you could just use one. It's an advantage, really, in my opinion. There's no doubt about it. But.
Yeah. What about you, Josh?
What's that?
Are you using just one call to do all?
No, 4 or 5 different ones. One for keys, one for yelping, one a little bit heavier for my cackles. And then something a little bit lighter for the clucks and purrs.
He's one of those, just like some of them in the old days. I don't know how many calls they had, but they would take quite a bit of time from when they call their name up there, and they would just be like your wife sitting at the table for everybody to eat. They're out. They unfold this. They get this in its places and get it all organized. It takes a minute or two for some of them to get it all organized, so that there's nowhere to just grab this.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, and I don't know, some of these guys that can make all the calls on one call, especially in like a scenario style competition, because that's a big advantage.
Yeah, it's huge in the scenarios, because if you're trying to make the scenario flow and sound real, and you're fumbling back and forth between calls, and you're at risk of maybe making a reed flip or something, and
just it's having dead time, like no
chaotic,
sound. Yeah.
Very chaotic.
So do you think being such a good caller, I mean, y'all are world class, no doubt about it. Do you think that makes y'all a better hunter? Do you feel like it gives you more confidence when you sit down?
I do 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely a huge advantage.
I've always thought personally that like being a competition caller, just having a lot more time spent practicing and being able to control volume. I think the volume control is probably like one of the most important things in like finishing gobblers, like being able to really tone it down and that soft stuff to really convince them and get them into range. Like, and I think being a competition caller and spend that time practicing is.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like more of a second nature to somebody who does it all of the time. It's like a piano player, a guitar player, they don't have to look down when they're playing.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it just kind of comes out
you
second
can't
nature.
always lay that table out and pick different calls when you're hunting.
No.
So it's one of the things I've always felt is kind of a blind spot. People that are not to be prejudiced by it, but not as experienced at a mouth call or never got really good at it, or they're just beginning and then they just put one in and kind of hammer down. Hey, it sounds pretty good. And all of us like, how does that sound when you just barely making audible sounds? That should be the number one test of a mouth call.
Yeah.
You're not how great it sounds if you're, because if a turkey's 250 yards, man, you can make all the great sounds in the world with the friction call too.
Yeah.
The difference is so my point in saying a lot of people with heavier reeds on the call too, it's not the same thing. So can you the judge and that's where I think one being broken in really makes a difference to me at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you a question about the reed flip because I typically like calls. One of the ones you made for me, I like that it will do it all, and the reed flip is not as bad because the top reed's heavier. But some of the calls I really like, especially making those nasally sounds, have the thinner top reed, and you get that reed flip on it. So easy. Is there anything you can do about it at all? I mean, just be careful about putting too much air flips it.
Absolutely, air control is big, and for me blowing bat wings all the time, especially in competition. I mean, you're not as worried about it in the woods, obviously. I mean,
you're not. But
you want to prevent it. I mean, obviously, you're yelping at a turkey and you get that super high note. It's obviously not good. But in a contest for me, I just always try to keep that top. Like the tongue part of the bat wing,
right.
I try to keep it as wet as possible so it doesn't, right. I think when it gets dry, it just kind of flips up and sticks when that top reed's dry like that. So if you can keep it as wet as possible and, you could sometimes you could almost hear when it's about to do it and then you got to really tone.
What if you've been running
down.
The same call for a while, it tends to lose a little bit too. If you're just sitting there with your mouth.
Getting mushy.
Yeah, I'm getting where I try to be conscious of it. If, I'm taking a break, he's not gobbling right. I mean, I've called something, stick it back out, hold it in your teeth, and of course you're not get careful every time you'll tear the back of it up, but keep it from being soaking all the time.
And just and another thing is watching your breathing, like taking a big deep breath in through your mouth will suck that top reed right back.
Yeah,
that'll do that too. So I mean, like in a competition, like I'm constantly trying to focus on breathing through my nose and not taking that breath through my mouth because that'll flip them up easily too.
The funny thing is, like you said, some calls, like some of the stuff I was running this year, I had no problems with it at all. Last year, I had some calls that I was running before the Grand Nationals and hunting with that they're at risk of doing it any time. So if you get a set of calls that run really well, that don't do it, that's a huge thing. Yeah.
So you guys probably help a lot of. You comfortable over there, Josh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So. Y'all, I imagine y'all help a lot of people with being in the business when help somebody get started with a mouth call. What mistakes do you see common mistakes you see people make that could be avoided?
I mean, I think.
Well, while y'all are thinking, Lanny, I was telling my wife the other night that she just needs to embrace her mistakes. And she ended up.
How'd that go for you?
She ended up hugging me.
Oh, there you go. That's a pretty good one right there.
There you go.
You might. No, you didn't redeem yourself, but you got a little bit back.
No, that's
a little better
borderline redemption.
You're getting closer. You're getting closer.
All right, Hunter. Help us.
I mean, for me, I think something I see a lot of beginners getting. You hear guys all the time. I can't blow a mouth call. I can't blow a mouth call. Well, a lot of people. Josh and I And you take the top 5 in the Grand Nationals, every single guy up there is blowing a completely different call with different reads and different cuts. Like I was saying before, you know, I the only thing I blow is a bat wing. You give me a ghost cut or something, man, I can't make a noise on it. Dave Owens rips it up with a ghost cut. Yeah. You know, so I think people kind of get tunnel vision. They try, you know, split V and, you know, combo cut, whatever. They try 2 or 3 calls. They think they just can't do it. I mean, really, I think you got to go out there and buy 10 or 12 different calls that are totally different. You know, a couple being 2 reads, all of them being different cuts. And then once you settle in on the style that you like, whether it's a split V or, you know, a bat wing or whatever, kind of go from there and try a bunch of different, you know, reads and 2 reads, 3 reads, and then you could kind of settle in on what, you know, works for you the best.
Yeah, and being persistent. I mean, anybody who's good on a mouth call, everybody starts at the same place, and they're not easy. Like, it's going to take a lot of time and working with different airflows and, like Hunter said it best, different calls, like trying to, you got to find the right fit. But just knowing that it's going to take time. Like, don't expect results overnight, because I don't know anybody that's picked one up and been good at it.
No, not at all. So tell me if you think this is valid or not. I was telling people to, when they buy a couple for sure, and be sure you buy something with maybe just 2 reads too. Don't try 4 reads and stuff. But I mean, just get a variety. But then instead of throwing them in and just see and practice for a while. It's like, can I make the slightest noise with them and I don't hear any air? So you're teaching yourself how to be sure to trap all the air so you're not wasting air, because some people are calling when they first put one in and try, and you can hear more air getting by them than the sound of the call. So to me, if you practice on those little light sounds at first, you'll get so much better at everything when you master that. To me, that's just my thing.
Yeah,
because I see people that just blow. So, and honestly, you can be out hunting and run into one, and from a way off go, oh my gosh, that, you know, why is that guy using a mouth call?
Dudley?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Well, I am bad about using too much air, so you're right.
Well, I mean, it just depends on how far they're. And that, if you can barely hear them, who cares what you do then?
And we've been hitting on this lately, but I finally figured out this year to quit throwing away my 1-year-old mouth calls. Like, I picked some up from last year. One of them in particular I got from Spence. And man, last year I couldn't stand it. And this year I'm able to really run that thing pretty easily.
Yeah,
for me.
It's crazy what time does, and time and saliva and just seasoning a mouth call. Like, you don't want to throw them away.
It'll grab I've always said it's like, I don't know what the physics of it is. It grabs the air better when it's been broken in. And you know, if I had one, I'd lose it, or you know, or it blows up or whatever during the season. That's a big bummer. You know, you just got this one, and I mean, it in the grand scheme of things, it probably doesn't even make a difference. But it's
a confidence
yes,
thing.
It is.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's an ego. I mean, we're hunting with someone else. Let's face it, it's an ego thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, I want him to hear I sound good, you know, or whatever. But I was going to say, you don't like one at first. You got to try to learn to know what's got potential. Because I can yep on one. A lot of times, I just can't stand high sound. If someone, you know, he's going to hand me calls, or someone here, hey, yep on it and see what you think. I'm scared to death to do it because I just don't think it's going to sound good. Yeah. But you can, but to their point, I mean, I've got like 3-gallon Ziplocs of old calls. Now, I need to go through there this year and throw away a bunch of them that have deteriorated too much. But it's amazing how you can go back through those, and one really does sound good that you didn't like at first.
I was just doing a little house cleaning in my shop the other day on my workbench. Like, I've got all these calls, and some of them have question marks on them, or smiley faces, or a star. And I'm like, okay, there's a reason that these things are marked. And I was going through, and I was loosening the reeds, and I'm like, ooh, yeah, this one, I can hunt with this one.
Yep.
And then this one here, it's done, but
needs pitching.
Yeah, but definitely save them and come back to them over time.
See these people? When the clock strikes 5, it's not the end. It's just the beginning. They have to do these things. They have to do those things. Enter the all-new LS Tractor MT2 and MT2E, a relentless force of innovation. redesigned with a new hood and cab built for comfort and visibility, with enhanced lifting capacity to get the job done, making these people the ones everyone else calls those people. Visit your local LS Tractor dealer today.
Lanny, we're always in here. We always have these interesting guests, and you're always on your computer. What's up?
I'm looking at Onyx the whole time. I love the app, but I love the desktop too.
My favorite thing is Bobby doesn't know how to shut his computer down, so I can go in there and share his pins to my account.
That's what you were doing in there this morning.
Yep.
Back during deer season, I shot a couple of big bucks.
Of course.
As I'm looking for them, I can turn on this tracking feature.
Yeah.
And I can see where I've looked.
And I use that feature too for spreading seed, spreading fertilizer, spraying. It really keeps you on track.
Onyx is a great company. Look, we know Jared. They're hunters,
They
just
are.
like we are.
Yes,
So they're
no
serious
doubt
about
about it.
this. The way they've designed this thing, a hunter and a gamekeeper can take advantage of it and make their property better.
Use coupon code Mossy Oak to save 20% off of your Onyx subscription.
Yeah, and Mac, you shouldn't do that now. Richie, you got to help me. Okay.
Hey y'all, it's Jim Ronquist here with Drake Waterfowl and Old Tom Turkey Products, talking about some of the new lineup for this spring. One of the more popular is the SWT collection, or Spiderweb Technology. This is a highly breathable micro-vented stretch fabric for maximum silent mobility with a durable water-repellent finish that'll keep you cool and keep you dry and keep you going in the spring woods. Be sure and check it out at a dealer near you or drakewaterfowl.com/Old Tom.
Mac, you got a question?
Yeah, I've actually got two, but I mean, I haven't been doing this near as long as a lot of people in this room, but one thing with like yelping at a turkey, I've noticed that the precision of the note to me is what makes somebody sound better than the next person as far as like the start and stop of the notes. Is there any tips that y'all have on, the crispness of the yelp or the cut and not running it all together?
Man, that's kind of a hard one. I mean, it's easy to, it's easy to, and I always, like when I'm trying to help somebody or doing tutorials, I always say, like, you want to blow with as much clean air as possible. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, what does that really mean? It just means to me, you're basically what you're saying. You're stopping and starting, even just in a yelp, and it goes back to the old, the wheel sound, the and getting into it. It's just when you learn to control it really well is when you can get those sounds and that clean air, and just practicing slowly going into to making faster noises and stuff is that's
kind of breaking it up into steps, like getting that clear note and then getting it to break into the rasp. And I mean,
it's a hard one to explain in a sense, but if you could practice, I always try to tell people, just practice slow notes that almost don't even really sound like a turkey, and then go into your stuff that's a lot faster. And that's kind of the only way you can master that, in my opinion.
Making sounds on a mouth call,
exactly.
like just building a solid base to get into the yells
Well,
and stuff.
People that sing, they do things when they're warming up. Unique New York, or whatever.
Yeah.
That was around Burgundy.
And then one other thing. So, I mean, there's, yelping, cutting, fighting purrs. I mean, all kinds of different, like, female turkey noises. What do you think is the most underrated sound that somebody should have in their arsenal when yelping at a turkey?
Great question, Mac.
Ooh. Man, I mean, for me, that's a tough one. I always do try to throw, especially if a turkey hangs up or is just taking his time. I always try to throw in some Jake yelps. Like I'll turn him back behind me and just throw a couple Jake yelps out there. Whether that helps or hurts, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I think it definitely works in some scenarios. Some scenarios it might hurt you. I mean, it's tough to say. But man, for me, I just feel like really good soft calling is so deadly in the woods. It's not even funny, man. If you could master just and stuff that hens do when they're just feeding around, and really, unless you're right next to them, you'd never even be able to hear them.
Never.
It's just when you could do that stuff, because they're constantly doing that when they're feeding around. And almost in my mind, like it makes that gobbler think to himself, like, she's just feeding around up there and she's not really paying attention to me. So I might as well keep going a little bit closer and try to get her to pay attention to me. But man, soft stuff, in my opinion, is just it's killer. If you could get it to really sound natural, that kills them for sure.
Yeah.
One little observation I made is and I had been doing this some, but it's because I'd heard it before. But like if there's call it a flock of hens, but there's more than one. There's several hens around, and they're just not making, they're not broadcasting out to the world, but they're making those. You got to be really close to hear all those little cool soft sounds we're talking about. There's something like, I just think it's so cool. I don't know if it helps a lot or not, but it's just like there'll be a little purr, a little nasally stuff, and then a yelp, it'll just be a yelp, like, oh, and that's it. Yep. They only do that when there's other hens around. They never do that. I've seen them on their own. It's just when they're all in a big group of girls type of thing. And I just think that, and I noticed when I was one of the few people that I hunted with that did, I noticed Dave did that too, like extremely well too. I mean, good gosh, it was so turkey. But I just got to thinking, it's like they only do that when there's other hens around. So I'm always been so conscious of pulling out a second call or maybe a third that sound different so I can make the impression there's more than one hen there. I just, that's power in numbers thing, and I figure it's more attractive. But that single yelp, or it's like, a little cluck, and then the next time, and that's it. Not a big long, cow, 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 cow. I think it's attractive.
It kind of makes sense.
That single yelp thing is, I think it's something to add to your arsenal. Just listen sometimes if you get lucky enough, we don't usually spend that much time where we get lucky enough to be right up in the middle of a bunch of them for very long. Watch how they do that.
Yeah. That's great. That's great.
What about like an unconventional, non-turkey-ish noise? So you're trolling around. You're trying to strike one up. A lot of people will just cut 2 or 3 times or whatever. Do y'all have either of you have a trick you do that's not really a exact turkey sound that may trigger them to gobble?
JR,
you know what I'm saying?
JR comes back to mind. In that one. Man, I could think of 2 people, J.R. Lanham and my dad. But, J.R. in those hills of Missouri, he'll just throw in a mouth call, and he makes this whistle noise that almost sounds like a horse.
I think it sounds like an ambulance or something going down the
crazy.
road.
It's crazy. I mean,
if you can't decide that it's between an ambulance or a horse, it's a crazy sound.
It's a crazy sound.
I want to hear that.
It is so loud.
If you're next to it, you literally got to turn your head.
Like,
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Here we go again. But it is so unnatural.
Oh, yeah.
And we're hunting in the hills of the Ozarks. I mean, it's, all big hardwoods. It's beautiful. And this sound carries, and it's like a wee, 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 wee.
And you could hear it, literally hear it echoing.
So long, and he's like, laugh at me if you want, but.
And they do gobble.
And it's like, oh
crazy.
my God.
Yeah.
I still don't think you can beat a distant gunshot. It's something about
it. They hammer it.
It's like
the suddenness of it, I guess.
The suddenness and,
Look, we've been with Toxie before, and he'll start with a mouth call and then join in with a box call. Do y'all do stuff like that?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, one thing we were talking about last night too, it was funny just sitting around up north. These little scratch boxes are a big deal, especially where I'm from. And there's a lot of guys that use them. My dad loves using them, man. And if you could really master them, they sound awesome. Now, my dad, I don't want to say he doesn't have it mastered, but it might not be the most realistic sound out there. But man, he'll get out there.
It's pretty
good. He gets out there and just scratched on that thing a couple times, and it just sounds like a hen cutting. And man, it really does. There's just something about it. It's got that little different frequency, and it seems to strike up some turkeys.
Some of those just crazy hail calls when you're duck hunting. It doesn't sound like a duck.
No. Exactly.
But it works.
Yep.
How much are y'all casting your yelping and cutting at turkeys like in different directions while you're hunting? I mean, yelping at them or trying to turn your head or muffle it? Like is that something you're doing every time?
I'm sorry. Depending on the situation, I mean, trying to force one to come a different direction. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say every time. I mean, it's kind of situational.
I think it almost depends on the terrain and even, the amount of cover. If it's wide open woods, I always try to sound like it's behind me because, you want them to be, trying to almost come past you at that point. But yeah, that's super situational in my opinion anyway.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Before I lose this thought though, are you okay, Josh? You're jumping around over there.
Sorry, man.
He's thinking about the same thing I'm thinking about. He's got this neon sign saying fried chicken, fried chicken, fried chicken.
So would you recommend a guy, if he buys a mouth call, let's just say it's one of yours, but he puts it in his mouth and it feels a little big, can you take out some scissors and trim that down yourself?
Yeah, yeah. I would recommend like starting very small. Like when you're cutting off, just a little bit at a time, because once you go too far, it's gone, and you're gonna have it retaped. But to the regular customer who's gonna get mouth call tape. But yeah, I would recommend like a 1/16 of an inch at a time. Something very small to get it to where it would fit properly. And while we're on it, like we talk about, when you're for beginners trying different styles of calls and stuff, I think it's important too for some people to try some youth frame sized mouth calls, because
absolutely
some people, I don't think they even know like that their palate isn't the right size for the call that they're putting in their mouth.
It's funny for me too that you bring that up. When I remember when I was a kid, the first couple calls you made for me, I always had to trim because they had that bigger tape on there. But I remember as a kid, and I never do it anymore, I used to always bend the frames a little bit.
I still bend my frames.
Yeah, just to fit my mouth. And I think some people probably look past that too. But yeah, I remember I never had it perfect until I could bend that frame.
That loosens the reeds up a little bit.
That's what I was like.
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah,
exactly.
I still bend mine.
Yep. But you got to be careful because
you got to be.
Yeah, you could ruin it there.
You can fold them like the outside down, inside up, just a tiny bit, and it might fit the shape of your mouth a little bit more. But to his point, like if you trim a little, you up on it, be listening, or you losing air. You'll hear the hissing or whatever, and then to the degree you don't. But be careful because once you cut too much, I will say. I learned to call on stuff that was just a frame too, a lot. Because back in the long time ago, a lot of the callers would use a big frame with no tape, and probably was no reason that. It was just probably something they felt like they had a higher degree of difficulty or whatever.
Man, kudos to those guys because
those
big lead frames that they were.
Oh yeah, this was actually I'm thinking aluminum. Too. I was back in the day when there was nothing but lead ones too. And that whole story, and Ben Lee put them on the market after that. But these were great big aluminum frames, but they weren't quite as big as the whole area of tape on them today. But they were much bigger than the frames, but people were using them in contests like all the time with no tape on them.
There's still a few guys that use.
Yeah, I'm just saying. For me, it feels like I get a better sounding call. I don't have quite as much control, but it's like if it goes up in my roof of my mouth a little bit more. And I don't know why that might be, but it seems like I get a better sound out of them. But then if I'm not careful, then I can't control it as good either.
Yeah.
There's still a few guys in the Grand Nationals that call on the small frames with no tape on it.
For a couple of years, I won't call the call maker's name, but I was using the youth frame from somebody because I was frustrated. I'd had calls for years, and I couldn't find them anywhere. And so I was taking the youth with a 3-weed and taking – nobody had done it at the time, and I was trying to find where the center V cut, and cut the wings off the side. It's because it was just too much. And then I was looking for one where the reed did not stick out past. The top reed didn't stick out past. It was exactly flush or even a microscopic recessed in, so that it was real clear and almost a little high pitched, but then as you got more air, it would break. Because I'm not as experienced as I'll say that as contest calling quality, obviously, as these guys are. But it really worked great for a while, and then in the last that's been more than that 10 years ago. Man, the quality of the calls that all these call makers, them especially, but it's crazy. You can find whatever you want. On the market today.
Yeah, there's something for somebody out there for sure.
You had another one, Mike?
Yeah, so this is a little political controversial, but I want to know the ranking of hardest to easiest between Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Mississippi as far as turkeys.
I've always thought these southern turkeys are easy.
There we go.
Man, for me, I've hunted Mississippi just a handful of times. I hunt Alabama and Georgia every year, and it seems like that little belt, like Alabama, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, like, man, they could be hard-headed. There's no doubt about it. Some days you go out there and just wear them out, and then the next day you go to the same place where there's 10 turkeys gobbling, you don't hear one. And it seems like for whatever reason, up north, that doesn't seem to happen as much. I don't know if it's just because we have harsher winters and they're maybe more excited about it being springtime and they gobble more in harsh weather. But man, for me anyway, hunting down here, it seems like it could be really tough unless you got a nice pretty day for sure. But that's just
I agree. Like down here's toughest. I would say, I mean, out of the three, Pennsylvania's the easiest. Just
I agree.
Because of where we hunt, the population is phenomenal, and
Terrain.
at home in Ohio, like we don't have a great population of turkeys, and it's pretty tough.
Sounds like we need to go to Pennsylvania.
It does. Is that an invitation?
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, cut this. Cut off.
He's a Wallis. I mean, we're in, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're kin.
So, Hunter, do you hunt much public ground?
I do a little bit. I started the last couple of years hunting some public stuff in Kentucky and really enjoyed it. I mean, if I don't have to, I'm not like hardcore only going to hunt public, but I'll hunt whatever I have available to hunt for me. You know what I mean? So
do you change your tactics when you are you really thinking about safety more when you're on public ground and you hear somebody else calling and you're going to the same bird?
I mean, I don't know if I'm thinking about safety quite as obviously when you hear somebody else there, it's a little bit, it raises an eyebrow and you're a little bit more nervous about the whole situation. You want somebody to know that you're there, but
yeah, with you guys too, you
you
better be careful because I mean you have to make a conscious effort to make it sound like it's not a hen.
Yeah,
y'all are so good.
I think honestly, kind of subconsciously, you always think that public ground turkeys are going to be harder when it's. I mean, it's harder in the sense of finding them. Everybody can hunt them, but in my opinion, a turkey's a turkey, man. You can find one on public that's just burnt. He doesn't know he lives on public ground, in my opinion. I mean, there's no way that he could process that. But I think going into it, I'm always, kind of thinking, it might be a little bit tougher. I'm always trying to make sure that my calling sounds really good. And I think for whatever reason, I don't call as much on public ground. Just
no doubt.
Just it's kind of set in my head that these turkeys are going to be a little bit tougher. I don't want to overcall to them. They hear a lot of calls. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy hunting public. It's just because it's it is a different feel. There's no doubt about it. So,
Uncle Sam bird.
I like Uncle's birds.
Well, I was thinking that that you guys being so good with these calls, if y'all encountered another hunter, you might pour the coal to the turkey and really start calling to him, trying to get him excited and get him away from somebody else. I guess kind of assumed that's what you might do.
I mean, try not to. I mean, I guess it depends on the situation again.
Yeah.
If you're kind of on them and you were there first and set up on that turkeys within 150 yards and somebody comes in behind you, maybe, but I try to at least steer away from other folks. And a lot of the stuff I hunt at home, man, it's not public ground, but it might as well be. I mean, everybody's got permission at, the same spots and stuff, and that's just kind of how it is around me. So, it's, when you walk into a piece of public ground for me anyway, it's just it is a little bit different mentality for sure.
Yeah, and priority number one is not to get shot.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Y'all ever had a scary situation?
Not that I could recall. For some reason, something's coming to mind with somebody shooting close to us one time, and I can't remember where it was.
Man, down here, you better put your earplugs in.
Maybe I'm thinking
of the wrong time. I can't remember who it was. It was a long time ago again. But they were talking about their strategy on public or places like a hunting club, too, that got turkeys have been hunted hard a lot already. And that was just the beginning. That was just the beginning era of like cutting at a turkey. Mm-hmm. Literally. I mean, I can remember the first times I would, and I forgot where I even heard it. Maybe it was at a contest or somebody, I can't remember. But then, it was really deadly. But then people would go, oh my gosh, I never heard of that before. And that's crazy how we've progressed today. But the theory is like someone said, so when you go hunt on public land or you've hunted turkeys been called to a lot, pretend like you've only got so many yelps. It's very limited. So you're just using them as sparingly as possible. Like if you're not careful, if you try to call too much too soon, you're going to run out of yelps for the day. And that's like, think about it in that terms. Don't make a sound unless you think you have to. That was their strategy. So I don't know if it's good or not, but it was definitely, they felt like they would actually kill more turkeys doing that.
I don't think they let you know they're coming as much on public, at least around here. Wow. I think they come in silent a lot more often than they come in gobbling.
Yeah.
I know they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could say, just thinking about last year, I had a couple experiences on some public ground where, I'd be working one turkey and all of a sudden twice it happened just right to our left. And just, he just coming from nowhere, absolutely nowhere. So yeah, I would agree. Yep.
Yeah, that's an exciting moment when that happens.
That's as exciting as it gets, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, Hunter? What should we be asking? What are you an expert at that we need to learn from?
Oh, geez.
I mean, I think we've learned everything Josh knows.
I don't.
8 months to know over here.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm an expert at anything. I think I've been lucky to meet a bunch of really good guys and have some guys help me out with calling and hunting with a lot of excellent hunters, and I've just been lucky to learn from some really good folks. So if anything, it's everybody else's influence on me that's helped me out for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is. You got any questions for us? I mean, coming down here, you probably
geez,
thought,
I don't know. We were
well,
the whole time we were thinking about what we were going to talk about, and I guess that's something we should have thought about more questions for you guys.
Well, a lot of times people have questions for Toxie.
Well, Bobby, you can give them some pointers.
I'll let anybody ask any question they want. I may not answer it, but they're certainly welcome to ask anything they want.
Yeah, Mac, you got anything else? You're over there on Onyx again, aren't you?
It's that time of year.
Tomorrow is the opener of youth season. So.
It's the Utes.
Yeah.
I've got one for him. So we talked about it real early on, and someone in the rapid fire was like, old hen or young hen. So it made me think about the first time I'd heard it from anybody, and this guy probably departed as much knowledge to listen to him as anybody, Harold Knight. And he said, you need something with a real keen, clean yelp, higher pitched for this time of year. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, a lot of times the last hens left that hadn't been bred that still could be bred are just young hens.
Huh.
Just like, he said, a lot like, that secondary rut, it's just some yearling deers. And so he made that point. And of course, he's probably got as much experience as anybody walking still today. Yeah. And I thought about that. And so I've actually tried to do that. And it's almost like the same call I would pick out to go hunt Rios, is higher pitched or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it worked or not. I mean, certainly has sometimes and all, but my point in asking that is just departing that to the public is like, for later in the season, it might really get one excited. It wouldn't. But the second thing is demonstrate, if y'all brought something, the difference in your opinion, the sound of an old hen versus that's another thing to say you're doing that, but how do you do it, And that I seem reaching for calls. I was wanting him to kind of go, this is what I think an older hen sounds like, and then a younger hen. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, an older hen is like what most hens sound like. We're all trying to get, and that the difference is trying to something you could clearly make the impression to him. Yeah, I'm just a yearling hen. Yeah, I hadn't been bred yet. I'm looking for a guy. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Tell me, can you demonstrate what you think is the difference in the sound between an older hen and a younger hen?
Verbally or with a call?
Yeah, both. With a call. And talk us through, what you want. I'm thinking maybe just, find someone with just two reeds, or something there's something stretched tighter that's higher pitched, but
I mean, me personally, it's gonna change with airflow and air pressure.
Right.
But like that older hen, I think that's that deeper, like that yelp is coming from her guts, that to where that younger hen has that more higher pitched, like it's got more of a scratchy squeak to it.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I feel like I can, manipulate that all in one call. Like an older hen. Hold on, let me get this thing.
That sounded so good and I didn't like it.
Don't stop.
How about that?
So pretty.
To the younger one. A lot more clear to it.
Man, there you go.
Let's hear it first. Yes, sir.
And we've got to hear you.
That's
call.
it right
Yeah.
there.
I mean, I'd have to agree with Josh, man. I think when you think about, when you think of a younger hen in your mind, it's just got to be a little bit more high pitch, maybe not quite as much rasp. So an older hen for me is going to have that rasp into it. But
I just think it's something worth noting for people to try and have it in their mind for especially on up in the season. I'm not sure what difference it makes at the beginning other than you can sound like there's for sure a couple of hens there. But I don't know. He just made the comment, late in the season, that's probably the last thing left is a young hen. That's a real keen sound. I was like,
yeah,
I learned something.
So for me, like a younger hen, I guess like I said, if I was trying to actually be a younger hen, I think I'd go for less rasp. So it'd be something like hand, I just bring in a little bit more of that throaty, like.
So I'll just go ahead and say it. I didn't really want to know anything about young and old hens, but I wanted to make them yelp. I want to clap again. That was incredible.
That is
Yeah.
good stuff.
Well, I think before we close out, I'd love to hear, like, Hunter, I'd love to hear what you think is your best call.
Well, can we get them to do just a short, because the chicken's hot and I'm ready to go. I want to hear them. The coolest thing I've ever heard in calling contest was the 2-man team competition. We started that.
Oh, yeah,
remember?
sure did.
Laney helped when we were running
Back in
that.
the day,
We were the
in
first
Birmingham.
ones to do that for people, and I think it's so cool. Y'all do that for us real quick. Just take a swing at like a short 2-man team.
Hunter,
routine.
let's push your mic back just a little bit.
Push it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Right there.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Man, it was incredible on the yelp though. You could hear every little tone.
You
Perfect.
sure could.
Woo. That definitely, the hair on my neck stood up.
Yeah, especially with that cut in there.
Then some of your soft stuff afterwards too.
Don't coach them. What are you doing?
What are you talking about? Did you say him? Did you say him? He said, "Give him
No,
a
I
little
want
bit
to
of."
hear him do his soft talk stuff that he does. That's like you almost can't hear.
That's just what he's right there. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Caller number 2 and 3. When you're ready, give us your 2-man competition.
We just want to do some soft stuff and then lead into a little bit louder stuff.
Yeah, I'd start on the limb. Just
Oof, so good. Oh my gosh,
That was so good.
unbelievable.
That was
So good.
deadly.
Hunter, I'm impressed.
Hey,
Yeah.
man, I
I
appreciate
mean, you got it going on.
Yeah, and you can see Hunter calling from
Dude,
his core. Not
when he
necess-
said
I mean,
he
I
came
know
in
Josh
third,
is calling
he
from
just
his
came
core.
in
you just can't
third in
see
the
as
grand
much.
fourth. Whatever you did, did. It's going to be lights out.
Yeah.
And Josh, you still got it.
thanks,
You
man.
made, you made
Trying.
Wow, Bobby, that's incredible.
I feel like my calling's right up there on the level of your jokes.
No,
They're
it's
good.
it's a lot better than that. So that's what that was my favorite thing to listen to in the contest, because, it wasn't like a musical thing, like am I listening for a tiny mistake thing. It was just amazing.
Let it fly.
Yeah, and then when there's 2 guys and they're switching tone, you can sound like 4 or 5 hens doing all that too. It's just incredible. Thank you for doing that. That was very enjoyable for me. I can promise you.
It's good stuff.
Yes,
Well, guys, I think it's about lunchtime.
it
and
is
I've
definitely.
I know we've all enjoyed this. Hunter, it's great
Yeah,
to meet
great
you.
to
We
meet
wish
you.
you a lot of luck in your career.
I appreciate you guys having me. This was
Don't be a
ton of
stranger.
fun.
We'll get you back down
I'd
here.
love to, man. It was
Josh is we about worn his welcome out down here. So
I still got my hair standing up on the back of my neck from that.
Josh, we're glad the state of Ohio took your ankle bracelet off and allowed you to travel down here.
Oh my God. Give me a break, man. Being from Ohio and a football fan, like, we deserve the Buckeyes, because on Sundays we have to watch the Browns at home. So, like, just cut me some slack.
We don't have any. Of course, we got the Saints and the Falcons, I guess, and then the Titans. You know, we don't really have one, but
I guess you're lucky not having one because, like, if you got something like the Browns, it's terrible.
Yeah, the college stuff down here is life and death.
Yeah.
State, Ole Miss, Alabama, Auburn. It's brutal.
Yeah, it is. Well, I tell you what, I've certainly enjoyed meeting you. Josh, we always love when you come down here.
Appreciate you having us.
It's really amazing what you guys can do with a mouth call. I mean,
incredible.
If you're listening, they just threw them in. I mean, they licked them a time or two and then went straight to it. Mac, it gives us some hope.
Yeah, go back. We've laid it down to listen to now. If you want to listen to something to try to mimic.
What did I say? Did I say something?
No, you didn't say anything.
No, it's okay, Bob.
It's okay, Bob.
It was definitely a little slap, Bobby. That's okay. He'll get over it.
Okay.
You'll hear it in post.
Probably cut it.
Yeah, you'll probably cut it in post. If not, go for it.
All right. I make this look a lot easier than it really is.
Oh, man, I thought you've carried the podcast.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you.
The old maestro, MCBC.
Nice cat won't fit on this.
Yeah, look at it. Here we go.
All right. Well, let's
go
make
eat.
sure these guys get to go.
Let's go eat.
Guys.
John, thank you, Mac, everybody. This has been a lot of fun.
Rob.
Lanny.
Wow.
Yeah, Rob's over there taking pictures. Why don't
It's
you
good
say-
seeing all you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Why don't you say? Wait a minute, Hunter. Do you watch our television show?
The Gamekeeper show?
Yeah.
I've seen it a time or two for sure.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
good,
I told
yeah.
you somebody watched that
Yeah.
thing.
Sportsman's Channel right now, Sunday nights, guys. Y'all can watch that Gamekeeper television show. Thank you for listening to our podcast. We have a lot of fun.
Don't forget to sign up for the Avid Boat.
It's time to do that.
It is time to do that.
yeah,
That's
a great
right.
boat.
It's going to end at the end of the month, so get them in there.
All right, guys. Why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Tatum.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast, and be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.